Welcome to Geekazine's Virtual Conference Coverage 2020. All right, so we have Stephen Heywood here from Telestream. Stephen, how you doing?
Hey, Jeff, it's good to be here.
Now, tell everybody about who you are, what you do, and of course, tell them about your extra ventures too. Let's do the gamut here.
Well, so what I do for Telestream, I'm the Wirecast marketing manager. One of the things that I do is the live content and video production, as well as blog posts. I also make tutorial videos for Telestream, work with some of the influencers, things like that. That's pretty much my day job. But outside of that, people may know me as the Tech Buzz. I've done a lot over the years and kind of ventured off into the gaming vicinity and doing a lot of retro gaming in arcades and getting my kids involved. So I do a lot of things, Jeff, kind of like you with the music, and I dabble a little bit with that as a musician myself, and just trying to push video, to its max, especially now with what's going on in the world, right?
Absolutely, and we're sitting in a pretty nice spot. I talk to people where it's like, oh, how do I get the system that you got? And it's like, well, you got to put down some cash to do it, and the easiest thing is to get yourself a switcher, a software switcher, and so that's where Telestream comes in. I've been a loyal Wirecast user since 2010, and now we're on version 13 of Wirecast, and it's got a whole bunch of great stuff to it. So why don't we talk about Wirecast 13 here?
Absolutely. It's funny you were saying, people have been contacting me about that. I've been to a church this week that's not my church. So we were setting up the video with that. They're using Wirecast as well. I was at the VFW last night supporting our veterans, setting them up with Wirecast so that they can do, more remote stuff. So Wirecast 13, a lot of great things. I kind of wanted to ask you with that, with Wirecast right now as it stands, what's one of your favorite features that we got going on right now?
One of the favorite features, just the flexibility of the program to be able to do, just the basics like this. I mean, you're on a remote connection. We're doing a split screen right here, and it doesn't feel like a Zoom meeting, which we're not on Zoom at all. But we could be on Zoom, and I could still set it up so it doesn't look like we're on a Zoom meeting. So I would have to say just that ability to make it my own from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I was a Wirecast user before I worked for the company. So I've used it. I think the first version I used was probably 2.7. It was right when they made the agreement with Justin TV and Ustream, back when there was a Justin TV. Yeah. And when Ustream.tv was, those two were the big platforms to go to, kind of like Facebook, LinkedIn is now, or Facebook, YouTube. And, the flexibility, like you said, with that is really something that hits home, because that's one of the things that I really love about Wirecast is the flexibility, where even if you have other equipment, you can get Wirecast to work with it, as well as, we were talking about, a little bit of the pre-show, the gearboxes, and the more power you throw at Wirecast, the more it can handle. And I think that's something that you can't really say about a lot of products, right? Yeah. I think that's something that's, in this situation, we have to be able to adapt, because not everybody has Skype, not everybody has Zoom, not everybody has this, and you have the ability, you as the producer have the ability to bring anything and everything into Wirecast right now. Absolutely,
and the best part, I think, what you said is kind of holds true, is you have stuff that other people do, because other people they make software streamers or hardware streamers, but some of them, you guys get into a whole host of enterprise and extra program like a Switch and stuff like that give you more things to for conversion and for creating content and broadcasting content, for that matter.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, like you mentioned Switch, but ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow is not something I really got into until recently creating content for Telestream. It is a Mac only program, but if you're looking for something not only to just record your screen, but have an actual editing system, not, that's not going to be super high end like an Adobe Premiere or a Final Cut Pro, but ScreenFlow gives you the ability to do some really killer edits in your video. I was blown away the more I learned. And just for the record, I am not a ScreenFlow guy. I'm not an expert or even close, but one of our guys over at Telestream, Lucas Bishopberger, he's like a nut when it comes to this. He's like, oh, you just do this.
Yeah.
And it makes it so easy to do different call outs and things like that. So if you are in the broadcasting space like Jeff and myself, it's a great addition to it. For Wirecast, take your program out, do some editing. You have it right there. And what is it, $99? I think that's the going rate.
129. I actually have
129.
Yeah, I actually have one from the Wirecast gear that I have.
Okay.
And yeah, I haven't even tried to use it yet, but I should, because we're doing a lot more. We're doing a lot more presentations there, and having ScreenFlow, that probably would be a good idea.
ScreenFlow, as well as if you need, just you said about Switch. Mm-hmm. Switch is great. If anybody's familiar with QuickTime or VLC Player, it's a great way to view your content. I have it on a bunch of different machines here. There's a Switch and Switch Pro. So we have a really good host of products. You talked about enterprise. There's Vantage Cloud, transcoding in the cloud. I don't really get into that stuff, but there's a lot of things for the enterprise business out there that if you want to do some transcoding in the cloud and have that hardware up there, Telestream's got you covered, usually from the ground level all the way up to the highest point that you can go.
Okay. So let's talk about Wirecast, because that's where we embed ourselves in here. Wirecast 13. Yep. What are the main features that you have come out with 13? You just did an update with a couple, right?
So the latest version that's out right now is 13.1.3, and two of the main new improved, if you will, features of that is added support for LinkedIn Live events. So if you're a LinkedIn user, you can set up events now with it. Added support for LinkedIn Live audience targeting for those of you guys that are looking for ROI in your broadcasts. It's a great way. But if you're still on version 12 and you're kind of like, I don't know if I should upgrade, I let my support lapse and it's $99. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's happened under the hood, and we have this listed on the website. So I'm just going to read through a few things that have been added in, and these are things I think Jeff and myself can attest to as broadcasters was necessary. In that the first one was the main shot bin overhaul. This has been something, it's been a complete refurbishment of the main shot bin. It's where you add all your shots. It makes it a little bit easier to navigate around, and I know that's something that folks have struggled with. There's a lot of under the hood improvements with that reduced a lot of the code bloat that was in there. But it's definitely, I mean, from my perspective of using it for all these years, it's definitely made a huge difference. The other one, Jeffrey, as you know, Wirecast introduced live icons. I think it was like 4 versions ago.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, when you have a shot down in the shot bin, those icons will move if you don't want to have preview up, so you can constantly see things moving. Well, one of the biggest issues with that, it was always a CPU hog. Now we've incorporated GPU accelerated live icons, which significantly reduces your CPU. And then Jeffrey's showing it here for you guys as he's got those in motion. You can also do zoom layers where you can resize your layers. You can also now drag and drop shots.
Move master layers around, right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You can move some master layers around, get things going with that. That's been something I think you yourself, as well as some other, we'll call them power users, right, have requested to be able to move certain things without having to do one at a time. Yeah. I mean, that can kind of get, but preface that without accidentally moving it too. So before I go on with some of the other features, don't you find it's more adaptive now than it was back when we were making the shots move, it was like, oops, I accidentally made a playlist.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself saying, "Oops, I accidentally moved a layer"?
Well, the playlist thing, I still find myself making sure that I don't actually put the two together. But for the most part, from previous levels, it's like I can't remember who I was talking to, and they said, we got to get away from this whole switcher button type system, because that's not the way that people think anymore. They want to be able to have their shots in a way that they can use them and go back and forth and use them in different ways. Like, for instance, you can use them from a touch screen on their computer, or you can use them from a Stream Deck, or you can use them from an X keys, or you can use them from another computer altogether, and still be able to customize it the way that you think of, so you can get the right shots.
Oh, absolutely. iPads, anything. A lot of times with these incremental updates too, we put out a lot of you customers out there that if you have things that need to be fixed, we try to, get those fixed in the future releases. And I know we've had some changes in the product management team, which have been great changes. Lynn Elliott, who is our product manager, she has been very adamant about putting out, Jeffrey, as you know, we've been getting a lot of updates coming out pretty frequently, bug fixes, little features here and there to really up the production value of Wirecast. And I think the user base has been pretty ecstatic about that, having things that are necessary being fixed. There's something that has plagued the streaming world for a while, and that is streaming to Facebook and other places simultaneously, right? Okay. Facebook, we know, never really played nice with everybody. They wanted everybody to stream there. Before you had to do some workarounds, and that's fine. It's their playground. They're allowed to call the shots. Well, Facebook recently changed their policy that allows you to stream to multiple destinations when also streaming to Facebook. Before, you had to, if you used the Facebook preset, you had to use RTMP to go to YouTube or Twitch or any of those other platforms. That was the workaround.
Yeah, which I still do, because I like that self-control. Because if Wirecast, if your internet connection goes down for a second, you'll be able to bring it back up before it ends the stream. So that's why I always use RTMP over the actual player part.
I'm with you. Some people are more, especially churches and schools, they like the presets because it's simpler. They just give a username and password, but I 100% agree with you. But we have that now enabled as of 13. So you can go basically anywhere. And that's the reality, because there's people that are on different platforms. You have your Twitch audience, your YouTube audience, your Facebook audience. Mom and pop are always on Facebook. So giving people that ability is something that we really excelled at. One of the other things that is, from a broadcaster standpoint, is integrated Facebook speed test. That was something that, it's a new option in the output settings. You can optimize your connection. A lot of people don't understand what they should set their bit rate to. This is a way that they can help adjust that. And also, Facebook 1080p streaming. Yeah, you can now stream 1080p and up to 60 frames on Facebook. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're announcing the 1080p 60 frames a second, which means that if you need to know if you're going at it should go at 720 or 1080. That's a great way to do that. So
exactly. Dark mode has been added for Mac OS. Larger user camera area in Rendezvous. You got that. There's a bunch of different. I'm just pulling out some different ones that I know stuck out to me that I'm really big on. So if you guys want to see it, you can head over to Telestream's website, see that. But one of the
another. I'm just going to interrupt really quick.
Sure.
And we're gonna go outside of Wirecast, and that's basically the fact of bringing it into a Zoom. And I just found out that on Monday they updated the Mac side, because the T2 chip was getting in the way of the virtual camera and the NDI out. I believe both of them were not able to go into Zoom, and a couple other streaming services.
Skype is one. Yeah. Skype is one that's having a problem right now. They broke it. Right now, going to you, I can't send virtual camera, so you're just getting a straight capture card feed.
Oh, okay. And I use a PC, so I don't have those problems. But I do have I actually do have a Mac right here, and I do use Mac as well. But you can actually Wirecast and send that to Zoom and send that to some of these other services now, and that's a great feature. It's just amazing. So you could put in lower thirds, or you could show your screen rather than do the screen share or anything like that.
Virtual camera is one of our highly most requested feature to keep out of all. If you said, to everybody, what's the most widely used feature? It's virtual camera.
Yeah.
And that falls in with NDI. You were talking about NDI, and now with the Wirecast 13, you now have Ptz control over NDI, and I think NDI has been a huge game changer.
Yeah.
In the industry. Skype has it built in, and we have a lot of as we see this go on and go further on, virtual camera is great. There's going to be some platforms that are not going to go to NDI, and that's okay, because then you can use virtual camera. Here's that versatility.
Yeah. Where
platforms like Skype and Zoom and some of these other WebEx, they may have NDI, so you can use that. So you can go to pretty much any platform that you so choose to with that, and I think that really speaks for the product in Wirecast, having that versatility. I mean, even there's times where I have to do, and I'm sure you've done it in your own studio, ridiculous workflows, only because Wirecast can make it happen, because you can cobble together converters to get that webcam or whatever it is into Wirecast and make it work.
Oh yeah, there are people that are now talking about taking the new ATEM Mini Pro and a Stream Deck and Wirecast and putting them all together, and for something that would have cost you about $10,000 even 2 years ago is now under $1,500 for you to create a nice professional system. I've been doing, one of the things I've been doing during quarantine is I've also been doing Lego builds. So having different cameras up, having the instructions on a screen, and having some other stuff that I can switch to, and graphics for that matter, which I put on another computer. It just it makes me feel like I have a full production studio right here, a mini one, but still one that works really well.
And that's the versatility, right? So if you choose that you want to use an ATEM with Wirecast, or you want to use a Blackmagic capture card with Wirecast, as long as it works, right? It's your workflow. But and I've said this for years, taking off my Telestream hat. I've said this for years. I've used a lot of the products that are out there. I've used competitor products, and I've used products that have been free, and nothing comes close to Wirecast's encoder. I've used the $40,000 hardware switchers, and they can't hold a candle to it. Wirecast, Telestream has done it right when it comes to the encoding. Even if you use it, if you're a professional and you have hardware switchers, you need Wirecast to encode it, because it's still one of the best encoders on the market. And I don't know how you feel about this, but there's a lot of people out there that say, well, there's so many free solutions out there. Why would I pay for Wirecast when I could go with a free solution? And my simple answer to that is those free solutions are community-based, meaning you're at the mercy of that community. We have a tech team. We have an engineering team. We have product managers that are willing to listen to you, people like myself who are able to get on the phone with you, help you, assist you in whatever you're doing. That's the difference between a paid and a freemium model. You get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
So that's my take on the whole free versus paid, right?
Well, the best part about the free can work with the paid too. I mean, we can have one on one machine, because you have a license for Wirecast, and then let's say you need to set up something else, so you can throw free on there, and then have free come to Wirecast, and they work together. And I've done that as well. But there are a lot of things. Perfect example, I have an overhead Ptz camera, which I don't have in this shot list. But my overhead Ptz camera is USB based, and of course, bringing a USB cable over here is this desk is meant to move for different events. So having it tethered with stuff like that is not a good option. So what I did was I took another computer and I set it over there, plugged in the USB cable, used the NDI tools to bring, so it comes over here via a wired connection, and then I only have 2 cables coming out of this table, that being the power and the Ethernet, and
Nice.
that's it. So, and if I need to move this table so I can do something in a bigger area, that's what I'll do. So, yeah, it's just amazing. And the other thing you were talking about, I love doing this. I go over and I take a look at what the professionals are using, and I watch and I see their big old boxes. Well, you can't say it, but I can say it. These TriCasters and stuff like that. But then they're switching on that. But then I look over and it's like they have like 8 or 9 instances of Wirecast running, and each of the camera, because instead of doing the each individual ISO, they're recording from these little computers, and they're switching from these little computers, and one of them is dedicated for doing pre-roll anything. If they go out to the show floor and get interviews and stuff like that, they load it in on that and they shoot it out on there. But then the TriCaster then goes to the main Wirecast, which then goes out to the internet. So I've seen it in action on how all of this can work together from a simple program such as Wirecast. It's just amazing.
And Telestream really closed the gap on the hardware solutions that are out there on the market, and by giving us hardware controls, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ability to use an X keys. I don't know if I can lift this up, but I do have an X keys sitting here. You can use one of these to control your Wirecast. It's exactly set up the way Jeffrey will probably be able to pull up his color scheme that he has in his Wirecast, and you can see that they will match up to.
Actually, I didn't set this on this one.
Okay, that's fine.
I believe an update turned off the X keys option, but it basically shows color stripes for each master layer.
Right, so you can have that so you can match up. So if you're training some volunteers at your local house of worship, or training some students at a school, or whatever it is that you're doing, you can have that match up with your master layers and Wirecast to help it out. But then they also give you the ability to use a Stream Deck. So we have an application that you can run from Elgato. There's a little Stream Deck. I'm going to turn it the best I can. And you can switch shots within the Stream Deck. You can get the bigger one or the littler one, whichever. There's options out there. I think there is another controller, and I can't think of the actual name. It's Akai makes it, but I don't know the actual model.
Okay.
But inside of Wirecast, it gives you in the drop down, it gives you the different MIDI controllers that are compatible. A launch pad is one of them that you can get. But there's different options. If you don't want to spend $600 for an X keys that's made out, then maybe it's outside of your budget. You can get a launch pad for $99 or $79 on Amazon, and use something like that. At least it's tactile feedback, right? That was my big issue. There was a lot of solutions out, if you remember, Jeffrey, a couple of years ago with iPads, where touching a screen, when you're looking at a camera, I want to be able to touch and feel my controller with that while still looking at the camera and make a switch.
Yeah.
I can't do that with an iPad because I'll end up clicking on something else.
Yeah. There's Touch Portal, which is similar to Stream Deck, where it does create buttons. But yeah, you definitely have to find the button, and look where the button is, as opposed to the I can move around on my Stream Deck and go, okay, this is the button where Steven is, this is the button where I am, and just press it without straying from the area. So.
Right, and you as a musician, you play piano, you play guitars, you play drums. Like playing a switcher is kind of the same way as playing a keyboard. If you can, just like you don't look down at your fingers all the time when you're playing, the piano. Most accomplished pianists don't. They'll put their hands down. They know where middle C is, and they work off of that. They feel from there. And the same thing's true on a hardware switcher. I know when I put my hands there what my pinky's on, and I work from there. And so I could stay looking at the camera here while switching shots and compositing like Jeffrey was able to do, and still look at the camera. Now, if I was producing a show by myself and where I wasn't on camera, of course I could use an iPad and get away with it. But that's where I think Telestream really upped the game. And then they stepped up even further, and they went into the Wirecast Gear realm, which I know you're running the first iteration of Gear right now.
Yeah.
So that came out, I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago. And it was a great idea. It was a great machine. But one of the things we looked at, we said, more and more people are trying to do more than just one output, one monitor, 4 inputs. So one of our product managers put together this beast of a machine, and I be the first to say I was super excited when I got my hands on the 420. There's 3 different versions: 310, 320, and 420. So depending on if you want HDMI inputs, if you want a discrete graphics card, which the brand new, I believe it's the NVIDIA Quadro P2200, I believe is the video card that's in it. It's got 4 display ports out. Yes, this thing is beastly in it. I am actually, Jeffrey, and this is no lie, in my studio, I have 7 monitors that I'm powering with this. Now, 3 outputs of that I am splitting. So 2 TVs are getting the same signal. But think about that for a second. You're powering 7 off of that while encoding, while switching. It also, this is a TV that's behind me. The secret's out. It's not a green screen. It's actually displaying. I have preview set up in Wirecast to output to this display. And then Program Out right now is running, since Jeffrey's hosting this, Program Out is actually running my show in loops 24/7. So Wirecast is able to do all that on that Gear 2 unit on that 420. It's unreal.
Really? So I could get rid of my I could get rid of the box that's over there, and then this box, and then put it all in one.
You could do NDI. It's got 4 SDI hardline inputs. It's got a built-in SDI. It's a Blackmagic OEM card that does input and output. So you essentially got 5 SDI inputs, 1 SDI output, plus your display ports. Plus, there's something that everybody in the Wirecast universe has been asking for since Gear 1 came out: professional audio inputs. You as a musician know line input, not ideal, okay, if you want quality. XLR is where it's at, or USB. You can do USB. I mean, that's the digital age. But professional XLR, balanced, unbalanced, you have that ability with the Wirecast Gear 2, built in right into the box. It's not an extra, USB hub or USB DAW system that you got to hook up. It's built into the box, and that's something Gear 1 really missed when it first came out. And again, fueling the market. It's not something that we're hard on ourselves about, but it was something that needed to be done for the professional, the guys like you and I who are doing this, that want to use an X keys and have a beast of a machine to control everything we do. And I got a TV in front of me. I got a TV over here. I got 2 in the front of the bar. I've got my interface. I've got a TV over here that's mirrored from this one, and the big TV behind me. And Wirecast Gear will power that. And I think I was sitting 27% CPU.
Wow.
Streaming out, too.
That's
Streaming
amazing.
out.
That is amazing. So just
Very good.
a lot of cool stuff. And you got a bar. But that doesn't come with Wirecast.
Well, no, that's just to house all the gear. But I think people should definitely check into that, because Telestream has made serious strides to get into that space of, you don't have the ability to build a computer, you don't have the tech know-how, you're a school, you're a church, how do we do it? Purchase a Gear 2. You have technicians on hand. Get an X keys controller or Stream Deck, whatever you prefer, and you've got yourself a professional solution right in front of you.
And it's for half the price of the big boys box.
So I can tell you firsthand, because I played with the big boy boxes, and I'm just going to be completely transparent here, okay? A $40,000 solution I can accomplish with a $10,000 solution. Now, both of them have their pros and cons as far as features, right? There's always going to be some that have different features than the other, okay? Yeah. But when you weigh out the features that most people, for most workflows, are doing, I'll take the $10,000 solution. It's
true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing panoramic type productions right now, and I'm sure there's people out there that are. Yeah. And that's where you have to find out what solution is going to work for you. But the Gear, hands down, for what I do, will do everything that I needed to do and then some. And we've used it in many different solutions and scenarios in the church and everything. So, like I said, everybody out there, it's definitely something you want to look at. Telestream did it right with this. It was phenomenal. I was super excited when I started playing with it, and I got it in, and I was like, wow, this thing is awesome. If people could get their hands on it, this thing is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, Wirecast, of course, is always upgrading, always changing. And we've got 13.1.3, so that means that 13.2 will be coming out next.
So that's what I'm hearing. 13.2 is going to be the next big major release, and there's going to be a lot of new feature changes. And right now, I being completely transparent, I don't have a list of those features. But knowing the gurus at Telestream, there's always cool things, and I know a lot of people have written in. Jeff, you're one of them. You put in your feature requests all the time. I want to encourage people, if you're watching this on Jeffrey's channel here, that if you have a feature request, don't think that nobody's going to hear it. Write it in, send it in. Our support team's great. They'll put it into our engineers. They'll evaluate it. The more people that request the feature, the better chance you have of getting it sooner, because we don't know what you need. We don't know what kind of features you're looking for, and that's something that you can reach out to Telestream. Telestream has always listened to their customer base. That was one of the reasons I originally got involved with them earlier by using the software. Back then, there was a lot of different software companies trying to get into the space, both in Mac and PC. But Telestream really listened and made things happen that I needed for my production to kind of get me where I'm at today with the live stream. So I'd encourage anybody out there, and Jeffrey will tell you, he's sent in some feature requests,
Yes, sir.
and we've gotten them implemented and even still working on some different things. So I would definitely encourage that. So we're going to have to, maybe we'll have to come back on and do a 13.2 when I have more information on what's beyond that.
Absolutely, we can definitely do that anytime, and maybe bring on some of the people from some of the other areas of Telestream to talk about the enterprise stuff, and we'll both learn from it.
Absolutely. I think there's always something new coming. We're always trying to raise the bar, and of course I can't divulge everything. There are some things that I do know that are coming, and you got to change with the times. And so just stay tuned to Telestream. There's going to be a lot of cool happenings, and even though 2020 has turned out to be a rough year for everybody, just with everything that's going on. I'm excited in the direction that we're going. You and I both being in the live streaming space. Now's the time, folks. Get involved in the live streaming. Go get yourself a copy of Wirecast. Get out there and stream. You could save your business by just getting on there and streaming. You think about how many people you do sales calls with day in and day out. You might make 8 calls in 8 hours. If you just do a webinar, like sometimes I've seen you've done webinars and you get 100 people. You can do a webinar for an hour and reach 100 people by going live.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your money best spent at? So
yeah,
that's my tip of the day.
There you go. Let's talk a bit about prices. You have two versions of Wirecast, the Studio and the Pro. Correct.
So as far as we have, and I'm not going to attempt to go in and go through every feature. There is a nice, and I don't know if Jeff can pull that up, but there is a good comparison chart of the versions. So we have Wirecast Pro is $799, and I believe Studio is, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff, I think it's $599.
You are correct.
All right. I knew we did some pricing changes, and we wanted to try to price it correctly. But there are some different features that are available between Studio and Pro. And so I'll give you just a lot of the remote stuff that's going on right now. We have a feature called Rendezvous that's built into Wirecast. And Rendezvous allows you to bring guests on, just like Jeffrey's bringing me on his show today. You can bring in guests where with the Studio version of Wirecast, you can do up to 4 guests. With the Pro, you have 8 guests, or 7 remote guests, excuse me, and then yourself, which would make it 8. But I think that would get a little overkill, but you can do that. There's some advanced audio features as well in the Pro version. So if you're somebody that wants to do advanced audio matrix type work where I'll use an example. If you want to stream out, say, English to one destination or one you have two points on your CDN, you want to do English and Spanish, you have that ability in Pro, to do some of those types of things.
There's several tracks, so you could have like 5, 6, 7 languages going with the same screen.
Exactly. So for some people, that's why I said some people, those types of features are really important, especially with a lot of the churches and schools at home now that are doing. Churches like to do, if you have a bilingual church, it's a great way that you can utilize that audio to get it. If you have an interpreter, or if you recorded an interpreter ahead of time, you can get out that Spanish and that English. Ptz Camera Controls, another one. I know I've hit Ptz pretty hard, but I use them in my studio. I love the Ptz cameras, especially when you're a one-man band like myself and Jeffrey. Having that ability to control it, pretty awesome. And I think one of the other pretty big features that separates Wirecast Studio from Pro is New Blue Titler. And I know we don't really touch on that, but we partner with New Blue, and we give you access to, with Studio, I believe it's the $99 version, which is, I don't recall the, I know what Pros is, it's Live Titler Present, and I think that value's at like $299. But the original New Blue Titler, it's a $99. So you're getting a $300 graphic package. And I don't know, Jeff, if you use New Blue Titler at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I use it. I use it in everything I do. I've got the broadcasts, so when I do my lower thirds, when I do my overlays, I've been doing some green screen recordings where I come to the corner of the screen. You'll actually see it in this video at about the 1.5 minute mark. Well, I'll walk on and I'll say, like, enjoy, and then walk off. And I'll use stuff like that for that type of overlay.
Now, it's funny you said you have the broadcast version of that. That's what, the $1,000 version that they offer?
Yes, it's been a while.
They have a bunch of different. I know. Not to put you on it, they have a bunch of different versions.
Yeah.
But I bring that up to say, okay, so if you're getting the free New Blue Titler Live Present, and you want to do, you're watching Jeffrey's video right now, and you're seeing all these cool graphics coming on, and you're like, wow, I'd really like to be able to do that. You can upgrade to broadcast like Jeff did from your Live Titler Present, pay the difference or whatever New Blue has, and you could still run that with Wirecast. So that's a cool add-on.
And it also works with whatever edit. Like for instance, we're recording this, and then I'll be doing some editing. So I'll put some lower thirds on through my editing program. So it does more than just Wirecast, and that's another great thing about it. And that runs through NDI. Yep. So you can use it that way as well. I could have this machine just recording you and me, and then I could be sending this to NDI to another machine, which would then have all the lower thirds that would then go out to another machine that could do something else, and then that could go out to different parts of the internet, and we could be hearing ourselves in English in one stream, and we could be hearing ourselves in Dutch in another stream, and then we have an ASL guy down in the corner doing all the sign language stuff. I actually do know a little bit of sign language, so you have all that option right there, all through a great program in Wirecast. And I've been pumping it up just as much as you have here, because it's a great program. It is. Well,
yeah, so. And some people are always asking the differences between Studio and Pro, and my big thing is I'm a multi-view guy. I said earlier on that I have some TV set up. I have multi-view set up. I have a preview program with a little clock in there that I'm able to, when I'm doing a show, if I have to do certain ad reads. You have sponsors yourself, so you know. If you have 4 sponsors, you might do it at every 12 minutes during a broadcast, just to kind of space it out. And you're watching the clock. So with the multi-view, you have that ability to have preview, program, and then maybe a clock. You could set it up if you have 4 live cameras and say 2 rendezvous guests. In Pro, you can do up to 17 slots on one screen. So if you have a 30-inch screen in front of you, you could have 17 live sources right on there and monitor what sources, rather than have the live icons on. And ISO recording, those two are pretty big in production. With Pro, it gives you the ability, Jeffrey mentioned about ISO recording. A lot of guys that are doing a live broadcast, maybe they're using some guys that are switching that maybe they don't really work well together. Maybe they haven't worked together and they brought in and they were just a fill-in. he can ISO record those sources and go back and edit if he didn't like the way certain things were switched. So those are some of the really, really cool major features, in my opinion, of Wirecast Pro that really say, yes, Jeff, I want to buy Pro over Studio. As a broadcaster, those are kind of my, if I look at the list and I go down, those are the ones I'm going to pull out.
I'm going to show you one thing that I like about the multi-output Studio.
Sure.
And that's right here. Well, you can't see it because I just...
You switched over.
There it is. It's running onto a Blackmagic Assist.
Nice.
Assist. This is what's recording this video right now. And you can see you're in one corner, I'm in the other corner. But this, I set this up as an output, single screen output of the live event, and then so HDMI into this puppy, and I can even turn around and use the daisy chain it to something like the Webcaster X2 or something like that, which would then go out to the internet. So I don't have to tax my main computer. If I ever run into a lot of process, I can separate it all up. And that's what I really love about Pro, is that ability to do so much more if you think outside the proverbial box.
Absolutely. You don't. I'm glad you brought that up, because I use an Atomos Ninja for that very thing, to take an output as a backup recorder.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they just depend on a piece of software, and I don't care if it's our software, any software. You always want to have a backup recording of whatever you're doing, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's on a device like Jeffrey showed, or an Atomos Ninja, whatever's out there, use it. You should always have a backup. So with that multi-view output, like he said, you can send the audio and video of a program out. You could do preview if you so choose, if you want preview. Whatever it is that you want, you can output those to recorders, as long as you have the spots available. So
absolutely,
those are pretty big. And $7.99.
Yeah, that if as I talk with another program, if you have clients that are looking for something to somebody to do this stuff, you can make that back within a gig or two, and it's not a big deal. And then $100 a year upgrade, that's still that's as easy as pie.
Well, if you remember, the Wirecast Pro used to be $1,000, so they brought that price down significantly.
Actually, I think it was $1,299 back in 2015, 2014.
Yeah, there was a lot of different price changes, and I think they hit the sweet spot here with that $7.99 price point, from a broadcasting standpoint, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we could go on. We can go on for hours, and maybe we should make a weekly show of it. I don't know, but. For now, let's talk about. So if they want to get Wirecast, do you have any promo codes or anything like that? I know. I can tell them to go to geekazine.com/Wirecast to get their copy. But how they get it from you?
Well, right now, I mean, that's probably the best place to get it. We don't have any promotions going, but we usually have different promotions going around at different holidays. I would check into it. Not every holiday. So it's always great to see if there's anything going on there. Check the social media. So sometimes we even do some special things here with guys like Jeffrey. Head over to telestream.net/Wirecast, or go to Jeffrey's link he'll have it on the description, and go download it, give it a try, and check it out. See for yourself. Seeing is believing, and you can always reach out to me, Stephen H. at telestream.net. And if you have any questions, or if you're interested in this and you just want somebody to run through it, show its potentials, I'm happy to get on a call with you. And or if I can't do it, we have some great salespeople that are really knowledgeable in this, and they'll be happy to give you a demonstration of Wirecast and take you through it. But just like you, Jeffrey, I mean, we stuck with it for all these years. There's a reason. Even if I wasn't an employee, I'd still be using it, because it's still one of the best pieces of software on the market.
Absolutely. So, well, Stephen, thank you very much for your time, and we'll definitely have you on again.
I appreciate it, Jeffrey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's another company from the Virtual Conference Coverage 2020 at Geekazine. Since I can't go to the conferences, I'm going to have the vendors come to me. If you're a vendor, if you've got a product that you want to show off, if you've got a service that you want to talk about, let me know. Tweet me over at Geekazine, Think Magazine, Put in the Geek, and let's get on air and talk about it for Geekazine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and hit that bell notification to let you know when the next video comes out. For the Virtual Conference Coverage 2020, Jeffrey Powers here. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, you guys, geek out.